All right. So the next group is group A1. So some context, this is the case study as presented to them. So please have a read. Group A1, you can prepare the setup first. So similar to the previous groups, they'll be having 10 minutes of presentation, 10 minutes of Q&A. So any questions, please type into the chat and Kelly will moderate them. All right, so group A1, when you're ready, you can set up. I'll be timing as well. So once you start talking, I will start the timer.
Jan and Chris, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Yep, ready to.
All right. Okay. Hey, good evening, fellow good-looking candidates. Today, our objective is to put two words together. Okay, so the first word is FOP. When you hear FOP, you think of good times, meeting good people, and learning a lot of new things. The second word that we plan to put together is online. When you think of the word online, you think of consuming numerous amounts of great content on demand. But the sad thing is, when you put these two words together, you immediately go and sink in a pool of resentment and you feel like you do not want to participate. But today, our objective is to turn the apprehension into at least slight excitement. This is our team for today. We are Group A1. We have Chris, Janessa, and myself, Sam. Our presentation will start off by talking about the structure of the FOP that we would like to propose for the next academic year. Then we'll talk about some of the protocols that we'd like to introduce. And lastly, we'll talk about the activities that we have planned for you in the upcoming FOP. As a recap, this is our problem statement, and it asks us to talk about the guidelines that we need to set in order to have a safe camp. Okay, so let's begin with the structure of the camp. We're going to be breaking it into 2 runs, which essentially means that we're cutting the participant size in half so that we can maintain the OCOM structure while still having a decent ratio between the participants and organizers. And this is the basis for our next move. Recently, it was announced that it's going to be a transition to physical construction work in late November, a phase transition. And we're using this as a sign to hopefully transition to normalcy in the next academic year. Apart from that, we're using this OSA reference as well to adhere to the maximum of 50 people per venue. So our idea is to have satellite locations at the 7 different LTs. So there'll be 7 different groups of people at each run of the camp, which will be elaborated later. Our camp will start in the morning with physical sessions until 6 p.m. and to end in the evening with online sessions starting from 7 p.m. onwards. But we'll flip it over for the last day because we want a physical finale night while having online sessions in the morning. Now I'd like to hand it over to Janessa to talk about the protocols that we'd like to introduce.
Thank you so much, Sam, for introducing us and going through the overall structure of the camp. So now, before I go through the activities that we have planned for you, there's something very important that we should address first, which is the protocol. So firstly, let's go through while you're online. So we have anonymous whistleblowing platforms, we have records and logs of the Zoom calls and Telegram chats, and all freshmen will be reminded to keep their cameras on. This information will be told to them during registration. Next, we also have OGL training to ensure that each of our OGLs are equipped with the important skills needed. Next, we also have safety officers that are being assigned from each of the houses to enforce these safety rules strictly. Next, we have physical activities, we also need to have physical safety measures. So while you are here, we'll strictly adhere to the safety measures that Singapore and NUS have put into play, such as 1 meter safe distancing. So this 1 meter safe distancing will actually be enforced by asking the students to sit at least 2 to 3 seats apart in the LT. Next, the Universe app will also have to show that the students are indeed allowed to be on campus, which is the green tick. Next, there'll be masks on at all times. Hence, the physical activities that we have planned will ensure that have to be not so strenuous to allow the students to not need to take off the mask. Next, there will also be microzoning measures that will be put into place. So basically for these microzoning measures, since there are satellite venues, each student from each LT will be assigned certain toilets and certain areas that they're allowed to go to, which will actually eliminate the need for students from each LT to interact with each other. So next, let's take a look at some activities that we have planned. So firstly, the welcome. Since our day one will be physical, this welcome, we can adopt the old method of welcoming. So OGLs and house call members can actually stream in from the back and do the cheers and performances. And since due to the satellite locations, this will be done in one LT and then stream to the other LTs. Next, there'll be the day-to-day activities. So firstly, let's take a look at the physical activities. So from past feedback from students who attended the online camp, they actually felt quite awkward during the first 1.5 days, because they felt like they couldn't really talk to their OG mates and that kind of stuff. So we feel that physical activities and face-to-face contact is actually really important to ensure that this barrier between them is being broken and would accelerate the ice-breaking process. Also, this will also leave the freshmen excited for the online segment that will be held later on. So some examples of such physical activities actually includes charades. So as you can see in the picture in the next slide, these people are not 1 meter apart, and we will ensure that safe distancing measures will be strictly adhered to. Next, let's take a look at some online activities. So for the online activities, we actually want to continue the bonding that they have had during the physical activities, and also let this online platform be a way to conduct some physical activities that we were unable to conduct due to the COVID measures. So, for example, an online game that can be played is Scribblio. So, we've all played Scribblio before, and it's a very boring game. However, to actually enhance this gameplay and to make it more personal for each of the freshmen, we can actually use the custom words function. So, OJOs can actually contribute to this list of custom words to just for a continuation of inside jokes made in the previous day. But of course, we will regulate this so that we make sure that it's not inappropriate. So words related to NUS engineering can also be added. Next, we have the amazing race. So normally the amazing race is a way for freshmen to actually navigate throughout the school and just learn more about the school in general. However, since it's not very feasible for freshmen to be running around in school, since there's a clear breach of our safety measures, we decided to propose that NUS engineering be built in Minecraft instead. So the amazing race can actually be conducted through Minecraft. Next, other activities such as cheer creation and even OG Zoom background creations, kind of like what we did here, can be done. So this will help to foster a house identity, especially since we want to promote, we want to really integrate houses into engineering culture, further into engineering culture. So this will help them feel closer to their house and just feel like they're part of a house, Next, we also have the mess game. Well, since we have a co-campus created in Minecraft, might as well use that for our mess game. So points earned from the previous day can actually be used to do kind of like a supper bidding feel, but just to bid for stuff like advantages or disadvantages or anything like that. So I'll now pass my time over to Chris, who will continue on with more activities that we have planned for you.
Okay, thank you, Jen. So what we believe is, even after a long day of orientation in school, we are sure that the freshies would love to hang out more together afterwards. And this is where we will host the Zoom calls to facilitate further bonding sessions for the individual OGs. And since calls will be recorded, this will create a regulated place for them to share their feelings and thoughts with one another. Because freshies have already met one another in school, and that's why they are much more comfortable now to open up. So there are a few games that we can play, such as Truth or Truth or Two Truth, One Lie, and many other games, which helps them to know more about the interesting facts of everyone. Yeah. Or they can just go with the flow and share their own stories whenever they feel like it. And in my opinion, I think that's the best way. Because the whole point of this orientation is to bring everyone closer, making them bond through more personal and intimate conversations. Of course, how can we forget about the finale night, right? One of the most important and memorable part of orientation. We will set up projectors and screens at the different LTs so that each group can prepare a performance of their own that will be streamed to the other groups' venues as well. Some suggestions would be costume parades, skits, and even talent showcases. As for meals, we plan to order food as a whole for each of the different LTs. And I believe that we can all say that meals are so much better around friends. This will also mark the beginning of so many more gatherings and friendships in the future. Yeah. And okay, so to sum everything up, these are the three main challenges that the MC faced this year due to COVID, and even much so since it was a last minute change of plans. That's why we will split the orientation student body into two waves and further divide them into the different LTs so that we adhere to the restrictions imposed on gatherings due to COVID. This way, we relieve the burdens on the OGLs having to look after too many freshies. And to counter the lack of participation that we had this year on Zoom, we decided to conduct orientation on campus first so that they can break the ice more effectively. And every night, freshies will get to hang out more with one another on Zoom. And this time, they'll be so much more comfortable with opening up to one another. We believe that the activities that we have for them will engage them even more. But I am confident that with our plans we have for them, they will definitely be the ones who will initiate more exciting activities with one another. And with this, we wrap up our orientation with an amazing and memorable finale night. Okay, we have come to the end of our presentation. We thank you for your kind attention, and we are ready to move on to the Q&A segment.
Okay, so for the Q&A section, Alvin, you're up. You had a question? Wait, I need to unmute you. Hold on. Yeah, you can ask your question.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Can you go to the mass games portion? I'm just having a bit of a question here, right? So, may I know, because I think you all probably know Minecraft is kind of like a paid game, and also depending on where the platform, what is the platform, right? There might be a few difficulties. So may I clarify a bit more on how you're going to conduct these sort of like games, online games, especially since if you're going to conduct a physical camp itself, but of micro zoning, how are you going to conduct all these games that is paid online when everyone needs to have at least like either a phone or a laptop to play? Yeah, that's my question.
Okay, I think I will answer that. So actually for this mass game, it will mainly be played online because I don't think it's very like, doesn't really make sense for students to just sit in the LT then just like be on their laptops. I feel like that's not very engaging, and like the time that they're spent meeting each other face to face can be used for more bonding, can be used more effectively. So in that regard, the Minecraft will probably be played in the evening section where they are online, and we feel that this with the mass game being played online also, we can involve more people who might not be able to make it for the physical segment. So yeah, they can just meet online. Yeah, as for the paid, for the fact that it's a paid app, we could either try to get like a premium account, or like we can. I'm pretty sure that we can create a server. I think that's how the residential colleges did it for their Minecraft server. Yeah. You will definitely have to consult other committees for that, because especially like those who actually did it for this year's orientation, as we have yet to try it out. Yeah.
Okay, Alvin, do you have any follow-up?
No. That's all for my question. Thanks.
Okay. Krish?
So for my question is also for Janessa. You mentioned that one of the physical games is charades. So the first part is maybe if you can share more about other physical games, because if it's only like, for example, charades, right? I find it would be very difficult to convince staff and OSA the need for a physical session. So maybe you can strengthen your case.
Yes, definitely not just charades. Charades was just one example, because it's a very good example where, you know, everybody can be engaged, because everybody can take a turn, can take a turn to, you know, present and like, not really present, but like play the game. And that's how we engage every single one of the freshmen. But other activities also, like other like icebreakers such as takoyaki can be played because if you play it online, like there's like the lag and that kind of stuff, it doesn't really go very well. So icebreaker games mainly can be played physically. So I think the focus of physical activities is really to play games that might feel awkward online. Yeah, that we normally play during a physical orientation. So I think for me was a few like physical games that I enjoyed during my orientation was takoyaki and the McDonald's one, the one where you're able to shout, and or like the captain one. I think that was really interesting there. Yeah, for them to be able to, they can sit apart yet they can still play the game. So, yeah, I hope that answers your question. Do you have any follow-up?
Okay, my follow-up question is more on the OGL side. So, because you're going to have two sessions, right? When the OGL signs up, how will you ensure that they are retaining for the second round?
We will definitely let them know that there will be two runs, and ideally the OGLs that signed up for the first that signed up can attend both runs. However, we understand that not all OGLs will be free throughout the entire period, because we also understand that with two runs there's double the duration, because we intend to keep the camp the same length because it will be replicated. So we ideally do not want to give anybody like a shortened experience. So we do hope that we will let them know that they will be that there will be two runs, and we will ask them to indicate availability. So should any OGLs be not available for a certain run, they can actually attend the other run, and that's how we'll try to distribute the manpower, because we do understand that a lot of manpower is needed to have two runs.
Thanks for answering.
Thank you.
Okay, so Song Hui has a question.
Hi. So you mentioned that just now you said that there's a mix of physical and online activities. So I imagine the physical activities will last for 1 or 2 days. I assume. So like, wouldn't it be better to be fully online? Because if it's physical plus online, right, then someone has to travel from, like, maybe they have to travel an hour and a half from their home, and then they have to go back. So like, the whole journey will take 3 hours per day. So like, why would they attend physical if there's already those COVID measures? So like, it's really not the same experience anyway. So I will think that it will affect the turn up rate. Also, like, how do you plan to manage the logistics? So maybe there's welfare. I would guess there's welfare, there's shirts, or maybe there's snack bars or something. So how would you manage the welfare? Also the manpower, right? So like, what will your plans be if like there's too many OGLs that cannot make it? Like, maybe you have 18 OGs and then there's only 10 OGLs that is free.
All right, I think your question's a bit long. Maybe you want to break it up. So ask the first question again so they can process. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So my question will be separated into 3 parts. The first part is how I think that the mix of physical and online session will affect the turn up rate. The second one is that I don't know what is the logistics plans, and the third one is for the manpower if there is really a shortage of it lah.
Okay, I will answer the first question regarding what's the point of the physical orientation, and to move on to the online one on the third day, because we believe that the whole point of the orientation is for them to bond. And for this year, even though I didn't attend the EFOP, I did attend the MSE orientation, but I realized the biggest issue is that people are not they're not easy to open up to one another if they were to interact with each other online, because they do not have the physical aspect of the orientation, and that would, in my opinion or to my experience, it will prolong the duration before it takes them for them to fully open up to one another. And like what I said just now, the whole point of this is to bring everyone closer. And for the online orientation part, there's only online games that we can play. So the physical interaction is also not there. And because for conventional orientation, it's also the OGLs that can help to ensure the participation also, because they get to oversee the activities and also the freshies. But online, it's because sometimes they might just off their cam, and even if you enforce it, they might just give excuses such as they are too busy, and then you can't really ensure that kind of the same level of participation as you get from physical orientation. That's why we try our best to conduct it in the physical setting as much as possible. That's why we ask them to move on to Zoom on the last day, but we still get them to come back for finale night. And from asking around the freshies this year, I think they would actually attend the physical orientation despite the fact that they might have to travel for, let's say, the 3-hour duration that you mentioned just now, because that's what they look for in orientation actually, because they want to have the physical interaction. Yeah.
Song Hui, do you have any follow-up for that, or do you want to ask the second part of your question?
Yeah, the second part would be the logistics one. And thank you for your answer.
Can I clarify? What do you mean by the welfare portion?
Oh yeah.
Because, I'm not so entirely familiar with how the structure of the committee is like.
Yeah, because there's at least I didn't notice that there's a mention for like if there's the engine shirt, the engine OVIC shirt or engine cam shirt, or there's maybe some sanitizers or masks, like maybe those design masks that those orientation camps would provide lah. So like I'm asking if there's a logistics plan to maybe distribute it, or there will be no this kind of goods lah.
Oh, I see. Okay. So basically, because in the light of the COVID situation, basically we will put in place a rotation basis. So like just like how we divided them all into the 7 LTs, the collection of these welfare packs that we will provide them with, will be placed at a central collection area, and we will set up a rotation for the different groups of 50 students each. And also because the times that we allocate for them will also be allocated so that we stagger the collection process. But we choose not to use delivery services, as we think that the delivery portion and the chances of loss during the courier might actually inconvenience us even more and create more problems for the welfare committee. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so for Song Hui, for your last question, right, you might have to PM them because we are sort of running out of time. We have to get the next group to present. So yeah, we will cut the Q&A here. Thanks for your questions. And A1, thanks for presenting. Clement? Yeah.
All right, once again, thanks to A1 for presenting.
Thank you.
Find out more about
Thank you.
and check out edgingclub.com/elections to see the nomination form and write-ups. Yep. Okay, so moving on to